Have you ever noticed how the laziest people you know somehow end up making the most money? While you're pulling all-nighters and grinding through spreadsheets, Jake Paul is making millions throwing punches, and your high school dropout friend is posting Instagram stories from their third vacation this year. In today's video, I'm sharing 3 reasons why dumb people make more money than you and 3 things you can do today to get ahead financially. For the longest time, I used to believe the biggest lie our education system ever told us, that intelligence equals wealth. But the reality is the wealthiest people in the world aren't necessarily smarter than you or me. For example, the average college GPA for the average millionaire in the US is 2.9 out of 5, which isn't failing, but pretty damn close to it. And research shows that those who earn the most money actually scored lower on intelligence tests than those who earned less than them. Meaning getting rich nowadays isn't about being smart. This discovery led me down a rabbit hole of research that revealed these 3 patterns. Number 1, have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? It's a psychological bias where people who know very little about a subject often think they know more than they actually do. So if you think about it, do you consider yourself an above-average driver? I bet you tree fitty that you said yes. And studies show exactly that, right? 93% of Americans rate themselves as better than average at driving, which is statistically impossible. We can't all be above average at driving, but that's basically the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. Our brain works very hard to convince ourselves that we are more competent than we are. And the irony is that the more quote-unquote dumb someone is, the more they think they can succeed in what they do. You get more confident, and then all of a sudden you think you can revolutionize electric vehicles without any engineering background, buy Twitter for $44 billion just because you feel like it, and somehow become the richest person on the planet. That's literally Elon Musk's entire playbook. On the other hand, for most smart people, the moment you even consider starting a big endeavor like this, you're going to start researching with 316 tabs open where you try to analyze every possible approach for weeks, and you never actually start anything, aka analysis paralysis. And it happens when you spend too much time thinking about doing something, which just paralyzes you from making actual progress in doing that thing. The point is, dumb people often don't know what they don't know. So they get more confident, they believe in themselves that they can actually succeed. So they actually start and take the first step. But most people, they want to make sure that they have all the information first. They want to have the best strategy and the best plan. And then they overthink and they second guess themselves and end up not doing anything. And if this is hitting close to home, smash that like button because we're just getting started. But here's where it gets even more dangerous for smart people. The second reason you stay broke is that you have the wrong understanding of risk. And this is something that I've seen firsthand because I kind of lived on both sides. My first job out of college was at a tech startup, and 90% of my coworkers were computer science graduates from top universities. They were academically brilliant people. Whenever we complained about our jobs and fantasized about starting our own companies, they'd all agree and say they were ready to make the leap. We'd spend hours discussing business ideas and exit strategies. This wasn't a one-time conversation either. It happened week after week. What blew my mind was when I'd check in with them months later, they hadn't taken a single step toward their goals despite all our conversations about breaking free. And now that I've been in this entrepreneurship space for a few years now and meeting really cool people, ranging from someone just starting a new business to someone who raised tens of millions of dollars, I would always notice that a lot of them either never went to college, or if they did, they went to less well-known schools. And it's not just my experience. Research actually found that people with higher cognitive scores were more willing to take risk in a controlled environment. But when real money was involved and was on the line, that boldness pretty much disappeared. And if you really think about it, it kind of makes sense because think about school for a second. The smartest kids in class were always the ones who followed the rules perfectly, right? They'd raise their hand before speaking, turn assignments early, and never take risks that could hurt their GPA. Meanwhile, the class clowns and rebels were the ones starting businesses in the hallways, selling candy, or finding creative ways to make money that technically weren't allowed. The smart kids learned that following the system and avoiding anything that could get them in trouble was the path to success. They got rewarded for playing it safe with good grades, teacher approval, and college acceptance letters. So over time, their brains got wired to see any deviation from the approved path as dangerous. And if we fast forward to modern times, these same people are still instinctually conditioned to follow the safe traditional route. But here's the difference. Nowadays, taking calculated business risks won't get you expelled or ruin your permanent record. Maybe you'll lose some money, maybe you'll lose some time, but your life isn't over. You're not going to get kicked out of society. But still, that fear of stepping outside the conventional path is enough for most smart people to stay stuck in their comfort zones. The point is, dumb people tend to underestimate the risk, whereas smart people tend to overestimate it and then follow the conventional route. But if you want to get rich, you can't follow conventional wisdom and expect to get non-conventional results. And this third pattern is probably the most financially devastating of all. Smart people have what I call intelligence kryptonite. They're scared of looking stupid. And this is something I've noticed actually happens a lot for people who go through life being labeled the smart kid. People who grew up being the smart kid, they get a lot of external validation from it, and it kind of becomes this new identity. And when your self-image is built on being intelligent or being always right, then the thought of starting a business and failing publicly, it's kind of scary and is in a way pretty much just all downhill. In fact, studies show that kids who were praised for being smart were more likely to avoid challenging tasks because they were afraid of failing, which is kind of ironic because if you're smart, you should always want to improve as a person and you don't really get better when things are easy. This is basically like when you're lifting weights, right? If you lift a half-pound dumbbell, you can move your arm up and down as much as you want, but you're not actually going to build any new muscle. On the other hand, people who didn't grow up being the smart kid in class, like me, I was pretty average. You don't carry this type of baggage and burden around, and people tend to underestimate and think that you're never going to achieve much anyway. And this does two very interesting things. Number one, it kind of motivates you because it makes you want to prove everyone else wrong. And number two, you technically have less to prove and less to lose. So it's all upside from here. So knowing all this, what the hell are you supposed to do about it? Keeping all these reasons in mind, here are 3 things you can do if you're smart and you want to get rich and not get left behind. Number 1 is you need to embrace a B-plus mentality. Think about 2 people who want to learn guitar. The smart person decides they need to master music theory first. They spend months learning scales, chord progressions, and proper finger positioning. They practice for hours on a practice neck without strings, making sure their form is absolutely perfect before they even plug in an amp. Meanwhile, the other person picks up a guitar and starts strumming. Yeah, it sounds terrible at first. Their fingers hurt, they hit wrong notes, and they can barely play 3 chords without messing up. But here's what happens. While the smart person is still perfecting their silent finger exercises, the other person is already playing actual songs. Sure, there's sloppy versions, but people can recognize the melody. They're having fun, building confidence, and actually making music. If you want to build wealth, you need to stop trying to always do A-plus work and be okay with doing B-plus work. Mistakes are a part of life, and oftentimes they're the best ways to learn something, right? And to be honest, there's a really solid chance that what you consider B-plus work is actually pretty damn good already. The point is, at some point, perfection is just another fancy word for procrastination, right? You don't get any better by thinking about doing something. You get better by doing it. And each imperfect action that you take teaches you something that you couldn't have learned otherwise. And all these small improvements eventually compound into expertise and success. Number 2, find and use your comparative advantage. Now, I know this is going a little bit of a different direction, but the truth is not everyone should be an entrepreneur. What I've noticed is that it takes a very specific personality, but that still doesn't mean that you can't get rich not being an entrepreneur. Part of financial success is finding out what you can do better than the average person or better than most people and really focusing on doing that thing. For example, a really talented plumber who's well known throughout the city can earn way more money than a lawyer who is terrible at his job. And sometimes it can be really tough to find out what you're good at if you've been doing something else for a very long time. But the easiest way to find that out is you can check out Gallup's Clifton Strength Assessment or Via's Character Strength Assessment. Both of these assessments are pretty comprehensive and the results are pretty eye-opening. The point is, if you go down a career path that doesn't align with your strengths and you do it just because you feel like you're supposed to do it because of prestige or stability or money, then you're going to underperform compared to other people and you're never going to reach your full potential. The next tip is to choose your pain strategically. And this is something that really helped me make the leap from my tech job to starting my own business. And it's realizing that no matter which of the two choices I made, it's going to suck. For example, I hated my job and I felt like I was going nowhere. And if I stayed, then I would experience the pain of staying where I was. On the other hand, if I left and I did my own thing, I would experience the pain of going into the unknown and potentially failing and looking stupid or getting judged by my friends and family. So, I had two choices and either choice would lead to some sort of pain. So how did I figure out which choice to choose? For me, what I did is I tried to imagine my life in 5, 10, 15 years from now and look at it and see which pain would hurt the most. And I realized that the pain of staying where I was and not doing anything, that pain was far greater, would be far greater for me than if I forced myself to get out of my comfort zone and take the jump. The point is, even if you have the tiniest inkling of wanting to do more, give it a try. Because the absolute worst thing that can happen is you fail, and then you end up in the same exact spot that you are in right now. But what if you don't fail? What if this is the moment that changes everything? And if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe because I drop videos like this every single week that can literally change your financial future.